If there's not clarity, your staff suffers as a result of the gray areas because then they don't know what to do. And then you can't facilitate, a well-oiled machine when there's gray area and you have staff that can't make decisions because they don't know what to do. So I think it's kind of trickles down from the top.
Welcome back to the Sterling Family Law Show. I am your host, Tyler Dolph. I'm also the CEO of our hyper-focused law firm-only consultancy called Rocket Clicks that was born out of our own 26-attorney law firm called Sterling Lawyers. Today, we continue our interview series. We have Keaton, who is a law firm owner. He does business law as well as litigation in San Antonio. He's built his firm to over 6 attorneys. He has a great story. He went from starting the firm on his own to growing a little bit and then merging with another firm, and now has a thriving business. Keaton, thank you so much for joining us today. Really excited to have you on the show. Do me a favor, introduce yourself and your firm to our audience.
Absolutely, Tyler. Thanks. Happy to be here. My name is Keaton Frieberg. I'm a real estate and business attorney here in San Antonio, Texas. My law firm is Texas Suits Law Firm. And we're located here in San Antonio. We practice a little bit in Houston and Dallas as well. But yeah, that's us.
Love it. So practice areas, is it just business and real estate?
It is. Yep. You got the occasional client that needs help with something else. But for the most part, our primary practice area, we're working either business litigation, real estate litigation, and or on the transactional side of both of those. So we'll help individuals buy real estate, buy new businesses, sell real estate, sell businesses, and then we litigate over it if it goes wrong.
Awesome. And you mentioned you have 6 attorneys, 2 paralegals.
That's correct. Yep.
Awesome. How'd you get started? Tell me about the origin story.
Yeah. So I started right out of law school. I partnered up with 2 other individuals who passed the bar with me, and we really niched out and worked only with real estate investors. So at the age of 25, started Frieberg Morton PLLC, and we worked with property managers and real estate investors doing LLC formations, helping convey title. We worked. It was actually right smack dab, right outside of COVID, and so a lot of our investors were experiencing cash flow issues as a result of a lot of tenants that weren't paying rent at the time, and so we did a ton of evictions, and that's how we got started. And then about a year into starting Frieberg and Morton, we partnered with another firm here in San Antonio. We merged our firms together. I think it accelerated growth for both firms. The client base at the firm that we joined with was a little bit bigger, and rather than doing a lot of volume, which is what we were doing at Frieberg and Morton, I was working on some bigger cases together. So we had a nice mixture of volume and then big cases that we could bill into and whatnot. And that's how we started Texas Suits.
That's awesome. Take me back to the beginning. So I'm just thinking about this. You graduate law school, you're young, hungry, and now you're dealing with, very wealthy businessmen or real estate developers. How were you able to do the business development side? I imagine you're just a young kid. Please give me a chance. How was that?
No, that's a great question. I was really confident. I did evictions for years. I did evictions all throughout law school. Here in Texas, it's interesting. You can practice in a what's called a justice of the peace court without being licensed. So I was fairly familiar with the court process. I already knew a lot of the big property management companies and big investors here in San Antonio and New Braunfels, which is just north of San Antonio. And so I'm always kind of the opinion, if you're going to start a business, that you should already kind of have a clientele to work with. So I felt pretty comfortable just right off the bat jumping into the clientele that I already knew. But other than that, we door knocked. Kind of. We went to big property management firms. We said, "Hey, look, here's what we do. Just so you know, here's the services that we have to offer, and here's how we can help you." And believe it or not, we got a ton of business that way. So, one, just going to property managers, talking with them, letting them know how we can help them out. And 2, we went to what are called real estate investor meetups. So it's just big groups of investors who come together usually once, twice a month to talk about real estate, talk about things that are going good, things that are going bad, what they need. And so I would go and put on presentations. I spoke a lot on the Series limited liability company, which is just great for real estate investors and protecting their assets. So I spoke at a lot of those events, and I have clients. I have so many clients that for it's been 3 years that are still clients to this day, that I picked up from those real estate investor meetups, and then they just branch off via word of mouth. So primarily right now, that foundation that we built of going to meetups and approaching big property management companies directly has really kept us going pretty strong for the last couple of years.
Love it. Yeah, it's that's a big moment, I think, in every entrepreneurial journey, right? You go to law school and you want to be an attorney, which is amazing, but you also have to learn how to sell. You got to learn how to sell yourself. You have to be able to get clients, and then you also have to learn how to build a business. In those early days, what was the most challenging part? Was it the business side of things, doing the entrepreneurial thing, or was it the business development side of things, having to go build the relationships and create cash flow?
Probably the latter, just because. Well, I had started a few companies before starting Freeberg and Morton. I started a moving company a year before that while I was waiting on bar results with a friend, and the moving company is still doing great. I'm not involved with it as much anymore, but so that side comes a little bit more naturally. But when anytime you enter into a new market, figuring out how do I accept payment from these new clients, and do I want to do it flat fee? Do I want to have an IOLTA account, and do I want to manage that IOLTA account? All of that stuff was obviously new to me, and was a little, I guess it was a little bit of a learning curve.
Anything you would do differently today that could help our listeners in their journey?
Yeah. Um, I would go work for a firm for a year before I branched off and opened. I mean, it was a great experience. Money was definitely tight in the beginning. I mean, when I look back at it, I just don't even know how I survived off the nominal cash flow that we had. But I would go work for somebody. I would build up a little bit of a nest egg, and then just learn a little bit about the way that a law firm works, and particularly the business side of how a law firm works, and what you do and don't like. I think that would be, if I did it again, that's what I would do. Although with the caveat, because I am a little concerned that had I gone that route, maybe I wouldn't have branched off. I don't know, and I'm very happy with the decision to branch off. So I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, it's a great point and probably a huge discussion topic because you need security, right? Like coming out of law school, and to take that leap without the experience, knowledge, whatever. Did you have a mentor or anything that early on that you could bounce ideas off of?
you know, Not necessarily. I worked at a firm previously that did that before I graduated law school. They handled evictions. That's all we did, and that individual was definitely a mentor to me. He taught me the power of niching, which I think is the most important thing that lawyers probably can learn. And so he taught me that, and he did. I knew how the business, at least how evictions worked, and the business side of evictions from him, and that was great. After starting our own practice, I felt a little. I probably shouldn't have, but I felt a little uneasy about reaching out and asking him for advice when I started a firm that kind of was in the same area. I didn't know how he would feel about it. Turns out super cool. Was super happy to what I was doing, and happy to help. And I didn't reach out at that point in time, but I probably should have. So everything that we did was watching YouTube videos, watching other business gurus, really for the most part, to figure out how to run this business.
So you had enough grit and like do whatever it takes mindset to just figure it out.
Yeah, and at the time, being 25, I didn't really have a lot of obligations, right? Like I had a little bit of rent that I had to pay. I could eat whatever. So I think at that point in my life, I was totally okay with taking a ton of risk because it didn't, I didn't. Yeah, exactly. And so I was okay with taking on the risk and yeah, just grinding through it.
Hey, family law firm leaders, my partner Tony Carls just released his book where he lays bare our precise blueprint for growing Sterling lawyers from 0 to 17 million. This is the blueprint that we still use daily. And Tony explains it in very simple terms. The truth is, this is not simple to do. Success requires and demands hard work, but if you have the patience and the work ethic to do it, your family law firm will succeed.
So you told me that you ended up merging with another firm. Talk us through that story, right? You have gotten off your feet, you got some cash flow coming in, you're building your business. How did you go through that experience of meeting another firm and then ultimately deciding to come together?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess another way that I started to get business was I would go to networking events, or I think this one was called like a BNI or something like that. But basically, you meet with other professionals in the area and you give referrals to one another. Was the point? And so I was in a BNI, and another attorney, Garrett, was in another BNI, and we had both asked to meet other attorneys because I want to meet other attorneys. So when referrals come in, I can provide my clients or other individuals with great resources. And so building your this is a side note, but building your connection of attorneys, I think, is one of the most important things in the practice of law. But anyway, uh, I asked for attorneys, he asked for attorneys, and this lady was like, "Hey, I have a friend who wants to meet more attorneys, and I have another friend who wants to meet more attorneys." She linked us up, and we started chatting. We worked a couple cases together, just because it worked out well. And I would actually go into the office sometimes and see the staff and work with the other attorney on these cases. And that firm was called Shumway Van, and they were multi-state firm, and they were breaking up. And so and this was at about the same time that I had met Garrett. And so I saw that Shumway Van had a ton of resources that we didn't have right now. We didn't have paralegals. Our back end CRM or client management software wasn't phenomenal. And also, Garrett has 10 years of litigation and attorney experience. And so I thought that would be great. And obviously, he saw that we were young and hungry. And I think that's how the combo formed. And so when Shumway Van wound down, we decided that we'd work together for a little while, just still separate entities, but kind of together. And then eventually we decided it just made sense to combine resources and ultimately create Texas Suits.
Okay, so now for our listeners who are in this, maybe in this same situation or thinking about working with another firm, take us into the weeds a little bit on the logistics involved. Like, how did you actually combine? What did it look like from an equity or ownership standpoint? You don't have to give us, intimate details, but how'd you work through that?
Yeah. Well, we sat around a table and we talked about value and what kind of value each party was bringing to the table, and we also discussed what long term looks like. So, and I think that's really really important. Long term and what an exit would look like if for some reason things didn't work out. Because I will say that the partnership started kind of pretty quick. And so I thought it was very important to make sure that everyone, one, understands their obligations to one another, and two, that if for some reason things don't work out, that there's an easy exit plan for everybody, which comes in the form of an operating agreement, and it's what we preach to our clients every single day. So we sat around a table and we discussed what everybody was going to bring to the table, and that's how we were able to figure out equity. Um, and also roles within the company, because obviously if everybody's doing the same thing, that's not really beneficial. And what I learned in our time working together prior to joining merging the companies, and also on that roundtable discussion, was that you really want to make sure you have a partner that or partners that complement your skill set. And so I was looking for somebody who was more granular, who could actually develop these systems and processes and put them into place, because have a lot of great ideas, but sometimes it's hard when you have all these ideas to actually facilitate them. And so that is what Garrett brought to the table, and what I really loved, and what some of my other partners bring to the table is that they are really, really granular and really detail oriented, and can build out some of these processes that ultimately facilitate the growth of our company right now.
Have you heard of the entrepreneurial operating system?
I have not.
Okay. It's a business system, might be worth looking into, but there's the
Okay.
idea behind this. They call it a visionary and an integrator.
Oh,
And
I
there's two
have.
key roles.
I don't know,
Yes.
but yes, I've definitely heard. I've definitely read this in a book somewhere.
Yes. Yes. So it's EOS. But what you're describing is right. You have a very visionary mindset. I'm the same way. Lots of big ideas, want to move fast, ready to go. You're thinking about tomorrow, not necessarily here today. But we need to surround ourselves as leaders with people that can get the stuff done, that can build the process. Otherwise, it's just chaos.
You're
And
100% right. Yep. Yeah, it is. It can be chaos, and those other individuals that we surround ourselves with also slow me down a little bit too, which is good. Which is good. I need it.
need some breaks.
Yes. But yeah, that's. Did that answer your question about what it looked like, what it actually looked like to come together?
Yeah.
I think the
No.
most
100%.
important thing is that, and I actually put this in our operating agreement. When a new client comes to me and they say, "Hey, look, I'm going to work with, or I'm going to form a company with so and so, his friend, or this is how I know them, it's acquaintance, or whatever," and we're going to design the operating agreement that's going to govern the obligations, rights of the individuals in the company. I have an exhibit now that lists out everybody's obligations to one another, and we try and go into excruciating detail about what everybody's going to bring to the table, because I've found that there's a ton of business divorces happening nowadays, and I think it's because there's a lot of people formed LLCs. It became easier to form LLCs or form businesses, and so they did so with friends or people that they thought we're gonna work out together. And 2 years down the road, it didn't work. So I now list out everybody's obligations to one another in as excruciating detail as we possibly can, so that everybody can look back on that and reference it and say, "Hey, look, you told me that you were going to do this, that, and the other, and if we go and look at this data, it's going to show us that you're not." Or maybe, "Hey, look, I'm doing that. I said I was going to do this, but now I'm having to take over your roles too," or something like that. And I guess the main point that I'm trying to get at is that just make sure that everybody understands what they're bringing to the table.
100% agree, right? You got to create clear expectations because you don't want to have a moment where there's gray. Well, I thought you were going to do it. Oh, I thought you were going to do it. And then there's no clarity there. And now all of a sudden, you're at odds with each other.
Yeah, and I think that especially for law firms, if you have partners, if there's not clarity, your staff suffers as a result of the gray areas, because then they don't know what to do. And then you can't facilitate, a well-oiled machine when there's gray area, and you have staff that can't make decisions because they don't know what to do. So I think it's kind of trickles down from the top.
Yep, 100%. Love it. As we're kind of finishing up here, can you tell me about the future of Texas Suits? What are you building towards? What are you excited about as you're continuing to build your firm?
Yeah, thanks for asking. It's
Right? It should be your favorite topic, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm actually working right now to go back a little bit to our roots, which is kind of interesting. So, as I explained, we started off with primarily evictions and LLC formations. That's what I was doing. A lot of it. Came really, really good at it. I'm authoring the Texas Business Organizations Code, a section of it on the LLCs this year, and so I'm super duper excited. And I feel like I'm able to do that as a result of niching down. And so we niched down, we expanded a little bit, and we started working with a wider variety of clients. And my goal right now is to actually retract and consolidate the types of claims and the types of cases that we're handling right now. So that's what I'm super duper excited about. And just so you know, I work primarily with real estate investors, and so I'm reducing our scope of claims to just fit what they really need, and just really focus on making sure that we have a product that satisfies them and what they're going through.
If I've learned anything during our experience building Sterling, we started out having multiple practice areas and trying to be everything to everyone, and the same is true actually at the agency we run. Um, every time we niche down, every time we focus, and now at Sterling, we're exclusively family law, and at Rocket Clicks we exclusively work with law firms. It becomes so much easier to be successful because you have an aligned North Star and you're refining the same process for the same avatar. So you're continually getting better as opposed to going wide, you're going deep. And so I love that narrative, Keaton. I think it's going to only mean great things for your firm as you continue to grow and scale. Totally applaud that. Really appreciate your time and the journey you've been on. I love hearing entrepreneurial stories. You started out talking about how did I survive, taking all this risk and the cash flow issues and eating peanut butter and jelly probably to where you are today. It's a true testament of success. So really applaud that and look forward to continuing watching you grow.
Well, thanks a lot. It's been great meeting you and great learning more about what y'all do.